one more component, and Judy's already talked about it, that idea about leadership. And so I want to share with you some of my thinking about leadership and some beliefs that I've come to for many, many years. I'm doing some teaching and some reading and trying to figure out how to do that thing we call leadership. And the first one is that leaders are everywhere. There are leaders everywhere we look. And a healthy organization has to have the potential and the support for leaders in every job. We have these things called organizational charts, and there's all these little boxes. And some of them have titles like director or vice president or supervisor or manager, and some of them don't. But it doesn't matter. We have to have people who are willing to take on leadership in every position that we have. Now, I'm a firm believer that every one of us has the potential to be a leader. Now, I'm not saying every one of us has the potential to be the president of the university. I'm not even sure every one of us want to be the president of the university, right? Not every one of us can be the chairman of a department or be a director. Maybe we don't want that job. But all of us have the ability to make a difference in our world around us. Speaking specifically of UTSA, because that's our environment today, every one of us, particularly those of us who have taken on the role of supervisor, have the ability to make a difference in our organization and for the people in that organization. And I believe true leadership comes when we care enough to want to do that and we're willing to take on responsibility. So my belief is that all of you care enough, or you wouldn't have taken this extra responsibility on, you just kept a job. You've taken on this extra responsibility, you've studied for it, which tells me you care about doing it well, you care about making a difference, and you're willing to take some responsibility. And out of that, leadership will begin to grow. Leadership for me is a way of being in an organization, a willingness to say I care about the people of that organization and about the bigger picture. And I'm willing to work for the benefit of both. And I have no doubt, based on the information you've heard and the conversations I've heard today, that this room is a room full of leaders. Second thing I believe about leaders is that leaders are also followers. Do you know what the dictionary definition is of leader? Some of you heard me say this. You go to Webster and you look up leader and it says, one who leads. It's really helpful, isn't it? But there's a supposition in there. That definition, one who leads, presupposes that there's somebody following. I say sometimes, let's do the math. I walk out of the room and all of you just sit here and I'm saying, come follow me. And y'all just sit there and look at me. There is not a lot of leading going on, is there? I cannot lead by myself, and neither can anybody else in this room. We have to do it in partnership. We have to work together. And if we had more time, we do a whole workshop on why leading and following is not an either-or proposition. But what's important today is that you understand that followers, in your case, the people that you supervise, are an essential component of your success, just like you're an essential component of their success. And therefore, we need to understand them as partners, not as the people we tell to do things we don't want to do, right? They're partners. And sometimes we take on the other job, and sometimes they do. And sometimes they have skill sets that we don't have, and we set them up to be the leader in that situation, and we're their best supporter. It is a partnership and a relationship. It's an important reality. Now, there is another piece to this. Because you have taken on the title and the job responsibility of supervisor, there is a reality that you're not able to give away your responsibility or your authority for the outcome. So it's a really interesting dynamic that you have to think about as a supervisor. How do I set the people I supervise up to learn to be leaders and to act as leaders? And yet I still have some organizational responsibility that is very real that I can't give away. So when I set somebody else up to be successful and I want them to be a leader, it really behooves me to help make sure they do it well and are successful, right? Because ultimately, it does fall back on me. But even bigger, it's important that both of us can have that opportunity for success. Third thing I believe, and really have come to understand about leadership, is that leaders truly are servants. The term servant leader was coined in the 1970s by a man named Robert Greenleaf, and I'll just give you a very brief definition. The servant leader is servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve. Then, conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. Think about organizations that you've been part of. Have you ever walked into an organization and started joining it where there was somebody there who liked the title? They liked the perks. They liked the corner office. They didn't so much like the interaction they had to do to make everything work. They liked being a leader, right? Or have you ever been in an organization where the person who had the title, maybe had the perks and maybe had the office, really cared about the success of the individuals in the organization? Really worked to make sure that they had opportunities to learn and grow and develop? It's almost palpable, the difference in the organization, isn't it? The attitude that you bring to this work will set a tone that all the great coursework and all the wonderful ideas won't matter. Do you care about the success of the people that you work with, for, and that you supervise? If you really care about that, and you really work to make that happen, make that difference, then leadership really begins to happen. And servant leadership is a byproduct of that, I think. When I first became a dean of students several years ago, I no longer had a specific program that I was in charge of. I supervised lots of people who were in charge of programs, but I had no one specific thing. And early on, somebody asked me, "What is it that you do?" And I didn't really have an immediate answer. I said, "Well, I supervise these people, and they do these things." And then as I really thought about it, I realized that my job was to make the organization work for the students and employees who were part of it. And over time, I began to realize that that's really the job title for all of us. How do we make our part of the organization work for the students that we serve, whether you ever even see a student or not? We all serve the students, what their educational mission is. And for the people that we lead and work next to, how do each of us figure out a way to make the organization work for all of us? That, to me, is really the job. And that is a service kind of mindset. So how can you help your staff learn and grow and develop as a person and as a person who has a specific job to do? If you pay attention to that while you pay attention to all the tasks that have to be done, you'll start to be seen as a leader. Not just a supervisor, not just somebody with a title, but somebody who's really leading change and making a difference in the organization. Leaders are encouragers. Encouragers. It's really an interesting word. Kouzes and Posner, in their book, The Leadership Challenge, remind us really, that this word encourage has its root in the Latin cor, meaning heart. So does the word courage. They all fit together. To have courage is to have heart. To encourage someone is to give them heart. It's really important to think about that reality. I'm sure that you talked about different orientations like task orientation and interpersonal orientation. And we have to get tasks done. There's no doubt about it. And I'm sure that part of being here today was that you left a to-do list on your desk that was just, I see some smiles. You had to walk away from a to-do list that was just huge, right? We all had tasks. But how do we encourage people and help them do better, enjoy their work, engage in their work completely, not just check off the lists? How do we express genuine appreciation for the work that gets done? And the question about motivation is a really important one, because all of us think about encouragement differently. Some people would like to be standing up in front of the room and getting the rah-rahs and everybody excited, and some people would just as soon have a thank you note. Pat on the back. stop by the office and stick your head in and say, great job today.